Hello lovely people and welcome to my next chapter of my digital painting tutorial series. Last time we covered grass and this time we talk about how to paint plants. I know plants is a big chapter, but we are focusing on little plants here with a stem, with leaves, maybe a blossom, something like that. Just that you have the knowledge to apply it on whatever kind of plant you want to paint. I will cover trees and bushes in other tutorials as well. So I go here for a basic ground brush again. I have my special brush for that, a hard round brush with 80% of opacity and 20% of flow. And just figuring out how my plant should look like in the end. So I start with a plant, with a stem. And from there, different leaves go into different directions. And what I keep in mind here is that the leaf should not only go from the middle to the left and from middle to the right. Also, they should come in the front and to the back, so that you create depth in your painting. Also keep in mind how the leaves are coming from the plant. How I discovered it, it's like they are forming a kind of additional layer around the plant, around the stem. Then a part of this layer is falling apart and turning into your direction, or onto the left or onto the right. So it's more like you have one stick in different layers and they all are getting cut up and go in the different directions, opening up in the different directions. So I want to keep the leaves interesting. So I try to shape them a little bit, like they're curving and the peak of the leaves are going up again, so you can create a very nice composition of depth also within your leaves. Because in the end we will have a light source and the leaves will be hit by light, and some parts of the leaves will be in shade. And to have both sides, light and shadow, in one leaf is very interesting. What also is sometimes a very nice rule is that you paint objects or elements in your painting a little bit more large than they are in nature, in the reality. For example, we are focusing on the leaves here at the moment. That is the most interesting part about the painting so far. So I would like to paint them a little bit more large. Having a little bit difficulty here with the leaf tilting in my direction or to the viewer's direction, because you always need to keep in mind where the leaf is coming from the stem, and then finding the right way of an object that folds. Like you can have the same problem with a scarf, with a flag, with everything that is quite thin and is depending or is shaped by wind or by a certain circumstances. Also, don't draw all the leaves in the same size. You see, I have some bigger here, some are more little, maybe some which are tilting in the viewer's direction are bigger than the one they tilt in the other direction, something like that. Just have a very nice variety of different sizes of leaves. So far I really think this plant looks like a corn plant, but I have to say I didn't have any certain plant in mind. I didn't take any references or wanted to show you how to paint a specific plant. It's more like about the basics. I wanted to show you the basic plan of a young medium-sized plant, and from that knowledge you should be able to paint different flowers and different plants in the way you like. Okay, let's add the blossom here. So the blossom grows from different leaves again. So the leaves are like a basket holding the blossom in most cases. There are so many different kinds of plants, of course. So I don't want to say how plants grow in general. It's just normally it gives the illusion that a few little green leaves holding the big, mostly colorful leaves, which are called blossom or flower, right? Like a basket. Or so as you see, from all the millions of blossoms existing out there in the nature, I decided to paint some that are growing a little bit up and then tilting to the sides, falling down, dragged down by gravity. A quite very random normal flower, in my opinion. But I also want to add something special here. I have some two tiny stems growing out or two tiny straws growing out the middle of the plant with a little glowy bulb on the top, just to make it a little bit more magical, more mystical. But for now, let me finish this one blossom leaf here. I can see already it's too tiny. The blossom all over is too tiny compared to the whole plant. So like I said, now the blossom will be the most important thing, because it also will create the contrast later to the plant. The plant will be totally in green leaves and everything, and the blossom, I imagine, having a brighter, more intensive color, something like red or maybe purple or violet. So it should be more big, it should be the focal point of my image here. Alright, I think that's it for our basic sketch. I lowered the opacity here and created a new layer. So now we can block in colors. I like to do that with a lasso tool, like you see. Just create a line that might be a little bit similar to how a stem of a plant looks like. But actually you can do that with a hard round brush as well. Just do like this here and you have the same effect. So something like that, right? So you don't need to be an expert in using the lasso tool. It works with a brush as well. So we have our stem. Now let's create a new layer and add some leaves. Just using the sketch we did before as a guideline, creating the shapes and fill them with color. And I also want to have two different layers of leaves here. The ones they tilt in the direction of the viewer, and the one they are doing the opposite, so that we have leaves behind the plant and leaves in front of the plant. It's easier later for us to work with them, to adjust them regarding light and shadow and stuff. So that is actually quite quick done. Not much to talk here about. So like I said, let's also block in the colors for the leaves. They are tilting in direction or in the opposite direction from the viewer. So we have leaves behind the stem and leaves in front of the stem. I create a new layer and I would like to add the colors for the blossom now. So the blossom normally grows or sprouts out of little tiny leaves. They are holding the blossom like a basket. And it's very hard to talk about flowers or blossoms in general because there's so many millions of different kinds growing in different directions and totally vary in shape as well. So I decided having here a quite common one, just a few leaves colored in a different color, not green, growing up and hanging towards the different sides. So you see that I create a kind of hierarchy here as well among the blossom leaves, because some of them are going to be bended towards the viewer and some are going to the opposite direction. So it makes sense, like we discussed for the leaves already, that we create different layers for different blossom leaves. Looking cool. Nice. I think we can start adding some light and shade. Normally I like to start with a shade first, so choosing our soft round brush, make it quite big, quite low opacity, and then choosing a color which is similar to the green we have already for the plant, but a little bit more cold and a little bit more dark. And now just going in very smooth, coloring the first layer, which is the stem of the plant for now. In my painting, the light source will be on the upper left, so the shade, so the dark side of the plant, is going to be on the right. There's actually not too much to pay attention to when it's coming to adding light and shade to an object. Just keep your light source in mind, and according to that, where the shade is going to fall or going to appear within the object. About drop shadows we can talk later. So just that you that you can imagine the light source a little bit better, let's add a little sun here. I'm not sure if it's happy or not, but you get the idea. Sun is coming from the upper left, giving us a nice natural daily light source. With daily I mean it's not in the night, so daylight source. So with this light source in mind, we can imagine better where the light is going to fall on our objects. So what I do here is creating a selection with the lasso tool and coloring it a little bit more dark so that we have hard edges in the leaves. Because like I said before, the leaves are tilted a little bit and some parts, the one surface is hit by light and the other surface is not. So what we can do in the end is adding a little bit reflected light from the ground or from other sources, but the main light source should not hit the dark parts of the plant. That I'm doing for all the different leaves here. Just like that. And you can see it's already making the leaves much more interesting. You could color them in one color just, or with a smooth gradient in it. But having these hard edges where you really see light is coming from the one side is not hitting the other side at all. That is kind of cool. Makes the whole piece more interesting. So, I would say it's time to add some light now. We have our light source, we have our soft round brush and a quite bright yellowish greenish color, and let's give it a try. Yeah. See how this leaf is already popping out? It's amazing what color can do. And now we are getting exactly into this phase where we need to compose our painting with colors. So you decide as a painter what elements, what parts are popping out, should be the focal point of the painting and which not. You could have high contrast and bright colors all over your painting, or you decide to create those focal points just in certain areas where the viewer should look the first. And what I see so far is that the big leaf in the middle gets way too much attention, almost even more than the blossom in the up. So we for sure need to adjust some contrast, some color here, maybe also some sizes of different elements. We can merge some stuff here. So let's continue with some rim light like lights. It's always cool. If you don't add it too much, rim light is really something amazing, especially for this kind of style I like to paint in. I like to show you. I'm just trying out here some light reflections because the leaf didn't look too cool when I had just very soft color gradients on it. So I tried having something like you see this light reflections on hair sometimes, especially in a stylized way. This zigzag kind of thing where the hair is reflecting the most light. I tried this kind of thing here with the leaf as well, but it's not working out too perfect yet. Better than before, but I think we can push it a little bit more further. Yeah, the problem with the layers here, that's why I like to have everything merged on one layer from a certain point, because now we need to search for the different layers we want to paint on if you didn't name your layers in the right way, and that is something I never do. Even if I have more than hundreds of different layers, I don't name them. What I do is putting them in folders to have a little bit of arrangement in it, but I would get crazy naming every single layer. I don't know if people even do that. Maybe in tutorials. Maybe if they want to show people how to do it in the right way, then yes, you have this option to label your layers, but it takes too much time. And when you're really into your painting, then you know where the layers are. It gets problematic when you didn't open your painting a few weeks and then start continuing painting on it. Then you might be a little bit confused, but I can just talk about myself. For me, it's never such a big problem. I will get right into it quite quick again. So what I do now is thinking a little bit of the shade the leaves are let drop on the stem or on other parts of the plant. So I add this bright rim light only on those places where nothing is blocking the light rays from the left. You can see that quite well. The big leaf on the left here should drop a shadow on the stem of the flower, right? So that is something we will add in a second. For now, let's focus a little bit on the blossom. And you see here the blossom leaves got this slim edges again, the slim little lines, which adds some 3D illusion to it. You know now it's not just a pixel slim or pixel thin layer, it's something a little bit more chunky. I'm still not too happy with this leaf here. So maybe we can come up with something that push it into the right direction. Let's merge this down. I think we are far enough in painting process. We can merge it down, and yeah, let's connect the plant a little bit more to the ground, so it doesn't look like we just painted one element on another. You can do that normally by using the soft round brush, adding a little bit color from the ground into the plant, a little bit color from the plant into the ground, and if you want, using the smudge finger to smudge here and there stuff around. Should not be too soft. If you add too much softness to a painting, it always looks like, in my opinion, it always looks like you want to hide something. You didn't know how to render a certain part, so you just blurred it, smudged it, made it soft looking. It's not the way we want to achieve here. Okay, I focus on the drop shade now, what I told you before, that the leaves are blocking some light from the sun, so there should be a shade be dropped on the stem of the plant. Yeah, that makes a whole difference. That is really something. If you look, or if you check out paintings from professional, very good painters, you see they didn't just keep the light source and the shade in mind. They also had all these different little elements interacting with each other. When if there's a nose lit by sunlight from the one side, it's dropping a shadow on the face. Or if an arm is blocking the sun from a certain angle, then it also drops a shade on the body. And this kind of things, adding these kind of details in the end, that really pushes the painting a lot more further. But we are doing this step by step. Let's add this fancy little border here again for the 3D look. Yes. But the leaf is growing from a little bit lower on the stem, so let's have a shade here. I think that's fine for now. Maybe a little bit more definition here. Yeah, cool. Yeah, and if you watched my grass tutorial, then you know already that sometimes having a little cut or little hole in body or in plant parts here and there really makes your painting even more interesting. So let's focus a little bit more on the blossom on the top. Create a little bit more bright and warmer light color. and it looks much better already. It's so quick. It's always fascinating me again and again. How quick you can render or make a theme 3D just with some little changes of light and shade and color. You can always think of elements you could add to certain parts, which makes it more interesting. Here, for example, I thought like the leaves from the plant are looking quite plain already. I would like to add more focus, more attention to the blossom. So let's have a color variation and some shapes on the blossom. And I want that this line in the middle of the leaf is coming out a little bit more. So light source is coming from the left. The leaf is not flat. The leaf is having these two, you can say these two hills, and in the middle there is a valley. So obviously the hill from the right side needs always to be a little bit more dark than on the left side. And if you know this fact, then you can play with soft and sharp edges to create contrast, to create depth in the elements of your painting. A little bit stronger rim light here. Yeah, don't forget the back of the leaves as well. You see, I'm adding a little bit more blue color here and there, just to not let one part of the plant of the element just be dark. It's always nice to have a little reflection light from the other side as well, because of ambient inclusion. You never really have, no, that is wrong. Of course you have really dark parts, but an element standing like this in a lit up area, light is bouncing everywhere from everywhere. So play around with it a little bit. We are the boss here. We can do whatever we want. We can choose even the color. It doesn't need to be realistic. It should not look too wrong, but in the end it should look cool. And as long we keep that in mind, nothing can happen. We are free to experiment around here. Having our clipping mask here with overlay effect, and let these different parts, they're lit up by light, the different leaves pop a little bit more. Same goes for the blossom in the up. Yeah, you see the difference? Amazing. That is what I was going for. So let's see if we can add a little bit more detail into the different leaves. For example, when you look at leaves or at the most leaves, then they're having fine veins, fine vein-like lines into them. That is what I try here to simulate a little bit. I'm not sure if they are maybe too bright, but we can darken them later again. That shouldn't be a big problem. Just playing around here what works and what not. But for now I think that's cool. What we do with this big one here. Doesn't look too good on the big one. On the little ones, it's fine. Yeah, that works out. Nice. There's not much to describe or to explain here. It's just experimenting around. That is something I would encourage you to do as well, because from these little happy accidents, what they happen sometimes, you can learn a lot and you can achieve things you couldn't have done because you don't know about them. So always have your vision in mind, your references there, and trying to achieve this one little aspect. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. That's totally fine. That's the process. By the way, this little music you hear here in the background, I did myself. I have another YouTube channel called AstrothSounds. Link is in the description. If you fancy that music, give it a try. Check out my other channel. I do video game remixes and sometimes own compositions. I create fan art of different games in different situations, animate them in combination with the music. So these two channels here kind of work together. That is my art channel with speed paintings and tutorials, and on my other channel I do the music. So just wanted to let you know, if you're interested, check out the link in the description. Back to the plant. So I would like to have a rim light from the other side, like I told you. Normally I set up in color that is quite different to the one I use in the painting. So in this case it's a purple violet-ish color. Because we do it on a separated layer, on a new layer, we can change the color anytime. But with a good contrast in color, we can see the difference very good. And blending it later is not the problem. So let's just add here and there some rim lights. Be careful that the line is not too strong and too thin. So it looks much more natural when the light comes with a little gradient as well. So that light is really hitting and some parts are getting more light and some less. This rim light where you have one hard edge is really quite a rare case actually. If you're standing in front a light and this light is hitting you from the back and let this rim light appear, this situation we don't have here. But I did this mistake a lot in the past. Everywhere where I could, I added hard rim lights because it's a very powerful tool. You can create contrast between different colors, between different shapes in your painting. If you have a dark background and the shadow side of your element is in the dark, then a bright rim light totally separates those two elements from each other. It's very powerful. But you should do it in a right way, so it doesn't look too intense and too wrong. I feel like we can adjust the shade here a little bit more. So I created a selection and play around with a little bit more darker color, a little bit more here, a little bit more contrast. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I feel like this tutorial is getting online at the right time, because especially here in Germany I see outside the first little plants coming out of the grass, the trees starting to have this little bulbs. They will grow into leaves later. So spring is starting, and I think this topic really fits well. So I hope you see it the same way, and it brings you into the mood of spring. So that also kind of works very well. I just picked the little bit brighter color of the leaf where the light hits the leaf, and created some spots here and there, so it looks like some parts of the leaf are lit by light, and in between we have these valleys again I talked about earlier, because the leaf is not totally flat, right? It's more like, you can imagine it like a sail, connected to different sticks. It will never be, even if you give a lot of tension, a lot of pressure, it will never be totally flat. It will always fall a little bit here because of gravity and go up again a little bit because of tension. It's something like that. Maybe it's weird, but this comparison, but I hope you get the idea. So a little bit adjusting here and there with brightness and color and saturation. So you see, it looks much more cooler if you really have the feeling the leaf is growing out of the stem, and in a way that it's a little bit more detailed. So yeah, that is very important. And here I did a mistake. It looked like the plant is coming from the front of the stem and then kind of turning backwards again. That looks weird, and we decided from the beginning, if you go back a little bit, that this is a leaf, it is more behind the stem than in front of it. So I did a little correction here. Do we need to change here something? Maybe making the shade part a little bit more dark would be good. I think so, yeah. Nice. What you say, guys? It's a nice looking plant. So I had from the beginning the idea that from the blossom and the up, to create a little bit more, a better focal point, a point of interest, not a point of interesting. Yeah, I wanted to have two or a few little lines, a little straws growing. Come on. It's more difficult than I thought. Let's start all over. Close enough. Okay, I wanted to have this little straws with a little bulb on the top, which is glowing. Like these little things, bees and other insects are coming to gather the pollen and then fly to another blossom again. This kind of thing I wanted to have here to make it more interesting. And how the glowing effect actually works is that you have something very bright in contrast to something very dark. And you see the background here is quite dark, and the straws with the bulb are quite bright. And to increase this effect, oh boy, to increase this effect, you just add a little bit more almost white color into the middle of the bulb to let it glow. Can be soft, can be a little bit more sharp, depends on the style, and then add a glow effect with a very low opacity around these glowing bulbs. See, it's coming out quite good already, but it can glow a little bit more in my opinion. So I choose a texture brush here, set the opacity like I said quite low, the flow as well, color is bright, okay, and now let's add some texture, because not using the soft round brush here makes it more feel like really particles are flowing in the air. It's a little bit more like fog, if you understand what I mean. What I mean. So, and in the end you can smoothen that out anyways with the razor or with the soft round brush in the delete mode or the smudge finger. Lowering the opacity as well if you need. Just a little bit. And now, for me, a glow is nothing without some good particles, and I have my special brush for that I created. It's very easily done, just a few dots together in one brush and then painting many different very little dots at the same time in a very bright color creates this kind of glowing particle effect, like you have a very dusty area and the sun ray is hitting through it, you see these particles floating around, right? That is exactly the effect I want to achieve here. Oh, yeah. Clipping mask, block in the full color, go to soft light, turning down the saturation that it's totally gray, and now we can add some noise. That makes the whole painting look a little bit more tough. And by adjusting the brightness or darkness a little bit more, we can play with the intensity. You realize right now everything is a little bit much full of noise. We don't want to have it everywhere, so we create a clipping mask now, a layer mask, and color it totally black, so all the noise is gone. And now we go with a soft round brush on white, and everywhere we paint white on this mask now, the noise is going to appear again. And that is a very nice way to control the noise in your painting. I like to edit mostly on the most dark parts, or where a little bit more detail should not be wrong. Yeah, it's just a trial and error thing. So, and that's it already with this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you know a little bit better how to paint plants now. Check out my other tutorials I did so far if you like. Subscribe, because there are a lot of new tutorials I'm planning to do at least once a month. And yeah, hope to see you guys again in the next video, and until then, take care of yourself, enjoy the sun outside, depending on where you live, and wish you all the best. Bye bye.